This is WWE superstar Drew McIntyre, and you're listening to the WWE Podcast.
The champ is
the one that everybody wants, me.
Becky Lynch is going to WrestleMania. Claymore!
Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass. This is my iron. You're going to acknowledge me.
Everyone, welcome to the current state of WWE. We've got a special episode tonight dedicated to Roman Reigns' 1,000 days as champion. And we're going to primarily focus on that. As always, guys, our conversations tend to spiderweb into other things, but we're going to try to do our best to focus on the bloodline, Roman's 1,000 days, what that means, Jimmy, Jay, where they could be in the coming weeks, potentially if Roman's going to defend his belt, is he not? What we think about the new championship itself. All of that is going to be included in tonight's episode. So, Anthony, welcome, man. How you doing?
Not too bad, buddy. It's been a bit since we spoke. I guess the last time is when we previewed Clash of Champions, eh?
Yeah, Night of Champions. I think that was the last time that we did. And then,
no, not Clash of Champions.
Well, close
Night
enough.
of Champions.
Clash at the Castle, Night of Champions. It's excusable.
Yeah, all the same thing.
But no, I mean, then of course I was at Raw last week, and that kind of messed things up, and haven't been able to sync our schedules until this coming Monday night, and here we are. So, I mean, as we look at this, 1,000 days, and I'm not sitting here tooting my own horn, and I'm not trying to pretend I know more than anybody else, but I have been saying since about day 500, 600, I've been saying, guys, we're getting to 1,000. They've already got halfway there. We're going. And here we are, 1,000 days, now well past 1,000 days, if we're being technical. First of all, at what point did you think they were getting to 1,000 days? Did you kind of buy in? You're like, they're definitely getting to 1,000, or did you actually think that they were going to cut it off before the 1,000 days happened?
I think I was legitimately starting to think about them cutting it off in February at the Elimination Chamber against Sami Zayn, just because. Not even so much because I thought that was planned, just because, as we discussed several times, we just thought that it was too good for WWE to pass up on. That opportunity with Sami Zayn in Montreal for the championship, culminating that amazing angle between Sami Zayn and the Bloodline. But I think that once he beat Sami Zayn, I kind of assumed that they were going to get to 1,000 days. Like, obviously, we had the Cody Rhodes stuff, and there were points during the build to that match, but even during that match where I was just like, man, maybe they're going to pull the trigger here. But I think you kind of convinced me a lot where you said there is no way that they are going to bring themselves to less than 60 days to get to 100 and then not pull the trigger on it. And, I mean, once you passed up on the opportunity to put the belt on Sami in his hometown of Montreal, at that point, it kind of seemed like the fate was sealed. And you even look at the build to him versus Cody, I think that it was okay. And I think the in-ring match was great. But I thought that the build wasn't as good as I expected it to be. I thought that they came face-to-face way too late and way too close to WrestleMania. So I thought that they didn't make it feel important enough, which is weird given how hard they've pushed Cody for the last 14 months or however long he's been back with the company. But I would say it was as soon as he defeated Sami in Montreal.
Yeah, that was the nail in the coffin for me, too. I mean, I had my doubts along the way. I wasn't, 100%, I'll be honest, because as we mentioned, the Sami Zayn one was very convincing. We've gone over this many times, but it still was the perfect opportunity to have him drop the belt. I still, months later, now think that it may still have been a good decision to do, but they went a different path, and him and Kevin are doing well as tag team champions. But now with Roman passing that 1,000 days, they're able to monetize that. Of course, as I mentioned many, many months ago, documentaries are coming out. They've already got merchandise. And now let's talk, before we get into a more deep dive, superficially talking about the physical championship. We had on SmackDown, we had Paul Heyman having the two WWE and Universal Championships. He's been carrying them for Roman ever since he won them at last year's WrestleMania 38 against Brock Lesnar. And since then, they have refused to actually create a one physical belt, even though it was considered one championship. And I've been very critical of that. And now we do have a finally a new Universal Championship. It is essentially just the same one as the other two, except it's all gold and WWE logo right in the middle. I mean, the format, the look is the same other than gold everywhere. And, I mean, I know some people are more intense or more passionate about what a physical belt should and shouldn't look like, but I guess let me get your take on the actual new undisputed WWE Universal Championship that we saw on SmackDown.
Well, it's pretty much the same belt, right, as the Universal and the WWE, except gold. And look, I'm happy that they've gone to one singular championship, especially given the fact that they've introduced the World Heavyweight title on Monday Night Raw. But just one thing, is the strap gold or is it black? That's my one question that I can't figure out.
Yeah, I'll have to Google that. Yeah, I mean, I thought it was black. That's what's in my mind.
Yeah, so like I'm happy that they went to one singular title and one physical belt, because him walking around with two titles, it kind of got goofy after a bit, and I still think that it's semi-goofy for the tag team titles as well, and I'm kind of curious to see if they're going to ultimately end up splitting those tag team titles. But I would have liked to see them do a different type of reveal, because I actually saw this like sequence of photos that since The Rock like retired the Spinner Championship in 2013 and brought in the new look WWE Championship, every single belt like reveal for like a world title save for the World Heavyweight has been the same look except different colors. Or so you go from The Rock's WWE Championship in 2013 to when it got merged with the World Heavyweight title, the old World Heavyweight title, and the new Undisputed Championship was basically the same as the WWE title, except with the new look logo. It was no longer with the scratch logo and with the logo that we've known for the last 10 years or so. Then you bring out the Universal Championship, and it's the same belt as the WWE one, except with a red strap. Then obviously the red strap turns to the blue strap when it goes over to SmackDown. And now the WWE Undisputed Universal Championship is basically the same thing, but with a gold backdrop. So I don't mind the belt. I'm happy that they went to one, and I don't hate the design. I was just kind of hoping for maybe a more unique and original look after so many belt reveals basically looking the exact same.
Yeah, it is underwhelming. It didn't take a ton of thought to create this new championship, because the only thing they did was change the color. And the strap is black. So this is just essentially, painting the belt with a gold brush and saying, yeah, it's brand new. And that's essentially what they've done. You would hope that they had come up with something a little more unique, given that they had more than a year with Roman as the WWE Undisputed Universal Champion. You would imagine that they would have come up with something like they did in 2002 with the Undisputed Championship. And, I know it's an eternity ago, but it's a new championship. It's merged. Whatever. I mean, I do still like, as you do, the fact that they have gone to a single championship belt, because there is a single championship. So therefore it makes sense. The math makes sense. I was never a fan of the two belts for one championship being represented. It gets confusing, because now you could essentially say there's four top belts. You have Paul Heyman holding the WWE, the Universal, Roman has the Undisputed, and Seth has the World Heavyweight. I just don't like four belts floating around. So I'm really hopeful that Paul Heyman doesn't carry around those two belts just out of habit or whatever, that Roman is only carrying a single championship next week, and those other two belts, at least for the time being, get retired. But yeah, it's not a again, I don't want to spend a ton of time on just the physical belt, but at the same time, I can't not mention it. Some people are really angry about it. Some people think it's ugly, it's uncreative, all that. But I think, all this stuff goes away quickly, and what is left is what the belt means. And so I think that'll happen over the next couple weeks. People get over it, just like they get over the red strap of the Universal Championship and all that. So like, there are certain belts that just suck that you never get over, like the spinner belt that I despise to this day. And I'm so glad that was gone when The Rock returned. The Divas Championship, the whole Butterfly Championship was ridiculous. But in this case, it's kind of more of the same, just a different color. So any final thoughts on the actual physical belt?
On the physical belt, no, but I kind of want to talk about the lineage and kind of what's somewhat becoming confusing with all these different world titles.
Yeah. Yeah, well, go ahead.
Well, because first off, it seems like the new World Heavyweight title isn't the same lineage as the old one, at least based on WWE.com. And it's weird. This one's called the WWE. It's called the World Heavyweight Championship, and the old one is called the World Heavyweight title. And I'm just like, you're playing with semantics there, really? And now my question is that what lineage does the new WWE Universal Championship have? Like, if I'm going to guess about the last two times that they did the unification with the WCW Championship in 2001 and the World Heavyweight title in 2013, the Universal, pardon me, Championship will just quietly be retired, like the World Heavyweight title 10 years ago and the WCW Championship 21 years ago or 22 years ago, or however long it's been. And whenever they've kind of made a new undisputed title, it's kind of just become the WWE title absorbing the other championship. But now it's just like, so the Universal title is going to be held in the same lineage as, or on the same playing field as the WWE title, even though it was only in existence for 6 or 7 years or however long it's been. And now Roman is going to be dubbed as a 1,000-day champion when he started with the Universal title. Like, I know maybe I'm getting tuned into the weeds here and kind of thinking too deep into this, but this is why I've always kind of been skeptical of them just creating and new world titles and retiring world titles just at like the snap of a finger.
It gets very confusing very quickly when you dive into the mergings that they've done and then the recreation of belts that have already existed, or the resurrection of belts that they now have brought back, like the WWE or the World Heavyweight Championship that you said, or they're now calling the World Heavyweight Championship, which used to be called the World Heavyweight title. Again, I think that's splitting hairs. It's like a difference or distinction without a difference. Like, okay, you're using a different word, but it's the same exact thing. I don't like the fact that if they're trying to just, again, focusing on the World Heavyweight Championship, if they are just saying to us, well, yeah, we just created this out of thin air, it's a bunch of BS. I mean, I don't know why they would even want to do that, because there's so much history and value you could pull from guys that have held it in the past that you could use to create this, to up the value of this championship. But they're pretending with us like that this belt has never existed before and Seth is the first one to win it. I mean, I don't want to go off on that tangent of the World Heavyweight Championship, but that part I don't like, because they're missing a huge opportunity there. But when you're talking about the WWE and Universal, I mean, if they're going to include the Universal in the lineage of the WWE, I mean, I guess they could, because of the moment when Roman beat Brock at WrestleMania 38, it was told these belts now become one. There were two physical, but the championships merged. Two lineages merged, and they have become one. So I would imagine that the Universal Championship probably won't ever come back. I wouldn't think, at least in the short term. The WWE has way more lineage if you're going to split them, but they're merged. So I would think that they are both in the same space of lineage, and I don't like that, because the WWE has much more of a history than the Universal does, and the Universal is just piggybacking on the WWE title. But I mean, we have to consider it as one championship, because they told us it became one last year.
Yeah, and that's where it gets a bit tough. And then you look at the World Heavyweight Championship. Like, I find it absurd that they're seemingly creating a new World Heavyweight title out of thin air. No,
that's my no. It's ridiculous. I mean, I understand. Excuse me, why they would want to do that, but at the same time, the argument to not do it and pull from the past is way more beneficial than to just say, yeah, Seth, I'm the first ever to win. No, you're not. I mean, even AJ in his promo going up to the match with Seth was saying, I'll be the first ever World Heavyweight Champion. No, you won't. Like, I mean, I'm like, what are they doing? It's like bringing back the Intercontinental title and saying it's the Intercontinental Championship. It's the same damn thing. I mean, I don't care if you change the look of the belt. It doesn't change the history of the championship. You can make that championship whatever you want physically, but the meaning of it, you'd be foolish not to pull on the past. And I thought for sure they would give us a video package of the past holders of the World Heavyweight Championship, including Triple H, including Goldberg, including Booker T, just so many, The Rock. Yeah, back in the early 2000s, when it was brought to WWE, you could have even gone further back than that into WCW, and they just pretended that none of that existed, and we're just back to having WWE bringing out this World Heavyweight Championship and telling us this is a brand new World Heavyweight Championship. They're just missing the boat big time on this championship.
Yeah, I agree 100%, and it makes you, at least for me, appreciate the Intercontinental title and the United States Championship, because they're like they're the only titles, obviously aside from the WWE one, that have held their lineages. Because you even look at like the Raw Women's Championship, like that was kind of created out of thin air as well, and that's kind of just carried on the old the lineage of the old Women's Championship, because they retired the Women's Championship for, what was it, 5 years. And they promptly just created the Divas Championship out of thin air and then retired that quickly. And then you create the SmackDown Women's Championship, which is fine. Like, you had to create a title for the other brand. But then you look at the tag team titles, where you have like the World Tag Team Championships that were actually the initial tag team titles all the way until 2010, I think. And then they got retired when they were unified with the WWE Tag Team Championships, which have carried the lineage through the Raw Tag Team titles. And then they created the SmackDown Tag Team titles out there. Now they're unified. Like, it's so, like, I know these are things that you're not, quote, supposed to look at in WWE, but like, as you've said so many times, it's a simulated sport. And for whatever reason, it kind of annoys me how it's so difficult to follow all the different lineages.
And it shouldn't, because this is the most important prize. These are the most important prizes in the game. We are told that these men and women are here to chase championships. And when we can't even understand where the lineage begins and ends for these top belts, it's just embarrassing, and it's unnecessarily complicated. And I don't know, how, or who is involved in this discussion or over the years. I mean, obviously Vince in the past, now Triple H, but maybe Vince too. And there's a lot of evidence that Vince is having a lot of say in these shows over the last several months. I'll say that. But I understand it's not easy to manage, but when it comes to respecting the championships, when it comes to being concerned about what the belts mean, that should be your first damn priority, is making sure that the fans can understand, oh, okay, wow, yeah, remember when Stone Cold had this belt? Remember when The Rock had this belt? Remember when The Undertaker had this belt? Now it's like, well, Roman's carrying a championship that none of those men did, unless you're considering the WWE being absorbed into that. But you could also say that, Seth is carrying a brand new championship out of nowhere, that there's nothing to hold, there's nothing to look back on and say, wow, isn't that, look at Seth. He's like, he's carrying the torch from, when Triple H was champion, and why Triple H is not talking about it. He had one of the greatest runs with the World Heavyweight Championship when he was in Evolution, and he's the one who presented the new belt. Is it not a massive missed opportunity for Seth and Triple H to have that kind of moment of Triple H handing the championship that he used to have, that helped make his career in a big way, and handing it to Seth? They're missing the boat here, and I don't understand what the value is of just saying, oh, we created a championship, even though it's named the same damn thing. It looks a lot like it, except a big WWE logo stuck in the middle of it. So they clearly understand what it used to be. It's not like they have made it, butterflies and rainbows. Like, it is representative somewhat of the previous generation, except the WWE logo stuck in the middle, and it's a little smaller. So, I mean, they can't tell us that they don't remember it when it looks very much like the previous one. And when it comes to Roman Reigns, man, I mean, I just it is very confusing. If anyone was to draw like some kind of flow chart with all these top championships that WWE's had over the last 20 years, you would come up with a very confusing diagram.
Yeah, no, I would agree, honestly. And this is not to take away from Roman Reigns' run, because honestly, I think it has been amazing. We could kind of dive a bit more into this, as not to go too deep into the weeds about the lineage of certain belts. But I think that Roman Reigns' run There's been downsides to it. Like, I mean, I think that from WrestleMania 38 until SummerSlam-ish of last year, right before the Sami Zayn angle and Triple H took over, like right before Sami Zayn's angle really took off and right before Triple H took over creative, I thought that the Roman Reigns story kind of really hit a lull. Like, I remember us coming on here like 11, 12, 13 months ago and kind of saying like, man, like, are they starting to run out of racetrack here with the Roman Reigns storyline? And they really revived it with the Sami Zayn stuff. I think Triple H took a new angle to it. Solo Sikoa's edition has been amazing. Now you get Jimmy Uso, who at a lot of times just felt kind of like the third wheel or the fifth wheel in a lot of ways, really now kind of being put in the forefront, take a more prominent role. But all in all, I think that what the Bloodline story and Roman's 1,000-day run has taught us is how long-term storytelling and attention to detail can mean all the difference. And that doesn't mean it will come without errors. It doesn't mean that everything's going to be a home run hit. But I think that most of all, it has shown us that it doesn't always have to be on to the next, on to the next, on to the next. And I think that there was a lot of time in WWE where that's the way it felt. Like, I always go back to, when we first started doing this show together, or when I joined your show rather, and it was like 2019 and it felt like everything was played by ear and there was no long-term vision. And it's just like, okay, so Seth is hot right now, put the Universal title on him. Okay, Daniel Bryan just turned heel. Okay, make him the Planet's champion. Okay, Kofi Kingston got a big pop during an Elimination Chamber match, put the belt on him. It feels like for the first time, maybe since CM Punk held the belt back in, 2013 or 2012, whenever it was, that they really had a long-term outlook for one champion.
Long-term planning is something that is a foreign concept, or was a foreign concept for a long time, because while we were told that Vince would plan from WrestleMania to WrestleMania, it would usually just be for the top guys. What's John Cena doing? What's Cena doing? What's Cena doing? And then what's Roman doing? What's Roman doing? And yeah, look, when you look at this 1,000-day run as a whole, from a high level, it has been undoubtedly one of the most successful storylines in WWE history. Now, when I say successful, I'm not saying it was hotter than any storyline WWE has ever produced. There are hotter ones. There are actually even better stories told through other ones that WWE has done throughout their history. Namely, and I agree with the Undertaker on this one, the Brothers of Destruction and their storyline of their past and the burning the funeral home down, all that stuff that was told to us in the late 90s, early 2000s. I would agree with Undertaker may be one of the best storylines ever told, but my point is the length of this story is not necessarily, to me, what deems it one of the greatest. It's how good it's been for how long, because it's easy to do kind of a hot shot month, 2 months, even 3, 4, 5, 6 months of storyline, and then you get to a payoff and then everything's reset and you're like, oh, well, that was cool. What's next? And this storyline, for going on 3 years and starting in the pandemic era with no fans, and to be this successful for this long, it is truly astounding. Now, as you said, this has not been a perfect story at all. It has not been perfect. There have been frustrating moments, down moments, as you mentioned, but as a whole, the money it's generated, the acting among the Usos, the build of the bloodline to the crumbling of the bloodline, which we're witnessing now, is a lot of fun. The roller coaster of emotions, Solo Sikoa coming out of nowhere, saying nearly nothing and becoming one of the biggest stars in the company, is absolutely amazing. Jimmy and Jay could go on solo careers right now and be believable top champions. They may be arguably the best tag team WWE has ever had ever. That's another conversation. But everyone that's been touched by the bloodline in one way or another has been better off for it. Sami Zayn had the hottest moment of his career, the hottest moment of the year, I would argue, the hottest moment in the last 5 to 10 years, I would argue, in Montreal. So this has been, as a whole, generally one of the most successful storylines WWE has ever done in their entire history of the company, which leads me to believe that this storyline is not nearly over. We may be witnessing the bloodline cracking in the Usos versus, Roman and Solo at some point. Maybe that happens at Money in the Bank. Maybe it happens in SummerSlam. But that to me is not the end of the story. There are so many different ways you can still split off and go, and maybe The Rock shows up, who the hell knows. But like, my point is, yeah, very successful, and the length of time is the most impressive to be this good.
Yeah, and I think that what it did is that it overshadowed the other champions so much so that they had to put both titles on Roman Reigns. Because remember when Big E was holding the WWE Championship? Like, how insignificant did that title feel next to Roman Reigns, who at that point in time was, I guess, was he just over a year into his title run, because Big E won it in the late summer of 2021, if I'm not mistaken, or early fall. Like, I do think that Bobby Lashley kind of got overshadowed, and he was a really good WWE champion. Like, obviously, we know what Drew McIntyre did in late 2020 during the pandemic era. But I mean, for you, we talked about a lot about all the casualties that were suffered to really beef up the Roman Reigns' run and to really try and put importance onto it. Knowing what we know now, that he's gone to 1,000 days and they've put a new physical championship on him and they have the World Heavyweight title on Seth on Raw, was it all worth it for what they did by taking away a Raw champion for all those months?
Yeah. Well, again, I'll still answer your question, but given that Roman's run still isn't over, it's hard to give a complete answer. But if it ended tomorrow in the 1,000 days, boom, Roman is number 5 on the list. All the casualties. Now, I said everybody that touched the bloodline flourished. Well, I mean, everyone that interacted with the bloodline had a main event story. Everyone that interacted with Roman had a really good to great match. That's all true, but the casualties did come for those that didn't interact with the bloodline, that had all of the oxygen sucked out of the room and weren't able to have a main event, specifically on Raw, as you mentioned. So is it all worth it in the quote unquote end, or really the next chapter here? I guess that's a difficult answer, and I'm still will answer it, but it's just difficult because we don't know what would we have to have given up on the Roman Reigns side if we still had a champion on Raw. I mean, I don't know what we would have lost on the Roman side of things if we still had a champion on Raw. But if all things are equal, everything somehow in this alternate universe was the same except there was a champion on Raw the whole time, I don't know if it was worth it. I'm still going to say no. I'm going to say no only because who knows what star would have come out of Monday Night Raw? Like, maybe we would have had another massive babyface on the Raw side of things that you could have said to yourself, oh my God, imagine this person facing Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. To not, for that long of a period of time, to not have a champion, a world champion on Raw, I still at this point don't think it was worth it, because you are not giving guys an opportunity to main event in a world title scenario, and you don't know who's going to sink or swim. You don't know what stars you may or may not have without that top belt, and everything was revolving around Roman, and everything on Raw had to revolve around the U.S. title, and we had to just be lied to that was the top belt. We weren't being lied, but it's a mirage. It's not really the top belt. It's only the top belt in the absence of the one that's supposed to be there. I still don't think, to answer your question directly, it still wasn't worth it. It wasn't the worst decision in the world. My answer is no. What about you?
The only thing that I would have said was that if you wanted to put the Universal Champ or the WWE Championship on him at WrestleMania 37 or WrestleMania 38, that's when he faced Brock, I didn't mind that, because that really kind of was a staple on Roman Reigns as like, okay, he's been the top guy for this long. But it was how they went about it afterwards. And to be honest, I think that the biggest criticism I had of Triple H was that he didn't pull the trigger on splitting it off of Roman at Clash of the Castle. Now, you could make the case if Drew was the right guy, if it was the right time, if it was the right move at all. But I think that if you had split the WWE Championship away from the Universal, you could have had the best of both worlds, because, you rewind to September of last year, Seth was ready to take on that role back then, in my opinion. and you could have had Seth dethrone. You could have had Seth dethrone Drew McIntyre at Survivor Series or what have you for the WWE Championship. And then you could have had Roman continue on this 1,000 days and still got to this point. And yes, you couldn't have brought back the World Heavyweight title. And as a nostalgic freak, I prefer the World Heavyweight Championship to the Universal title. So maybe the ends will justify the means in the very long term. But I just think that you started this run with the Universal Championship. And within a few years, I imagine that the Universal Championship will be a distant memory. And I remember hearing some things from reports, I don't know if it was off of Fightful or Dave Meltzer, that suggested that Triple H wasn't a fan for the a fan of the Universal Championship. So maybe this was a way for him to eventually get the World Heavyweight title back in the picture. But that would be my thing. I didn't mind him holding both titles for maybe a 6-month period just to solidify his run as super special. But I just thought that they should have split it last year at some time. And I thought Clash of the Castle with the botched cash-in of Austin Theory having Drew maybe win only one fall for the WWE title, I think that would have been the perfect way to have the best of both worlds.
You don't have to convince me. I mean, we were thinking in the reports that we all saw afterwards, even Triple H and Creative at the time were really heavily considering having Drew win and then doing that wonky, the cash in and it's only one belt, and they didn't go that road. I think that they looked at that as, from what we understand, a little bit too complex. I don't think it is. And we were saying at the time, I don't care how awful the Creative is. We just need to do it. And they didn't. And I think there is still some benefit to that, but they wanted to preserve Roman Reigns' not just title run, but also his undefeated streak since December of 19 when Baron Corbin beat him. We're constantly reminded of that, but I mean, that's significant too. It's not as important as his title reign run, but it's very significant. He hasn't lost in 3.5 years. He hasn't been pinned or submitted in 3.5 years. It's really insane. So, that said, I'm with you, or at the very minimum, they should have had a World Heavyweight Championship match at WrestleMania this year, and they didn't do it. They was headlined by, and understandably, Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn versus the Usos on night 1, and of course Cody and Roman on night 2. So the Bloodline did main event both nights, and I still believe there should have been a massive tournament leading into WrestleMania for the new World Heavyweight Championship, and they didn't do that. Just to crown a new champion, bring that person to Raw, and have them, claim that they're going to be essentially the anti-Roman, which is exactly what Seth is doing. And I know we're fast forwarding a lot here to present time here, but this coming Monday night, well, actually right now as we speak, Seth Rollins is defending his championship against Damian Priest. What Damian has done to deserve this championship is unknown. He hasn't won a match of significance in a long time. In fact, he had a very prominent loss to a musician a month or so ago. That's really not exactly a qualification. And Seth has had it for a week, and he's defending it. No build, no reason. I think this is the exact opposite of how to build value for a championship when apparently anyone can get an opportunity. Nothing against Damian Priest, but he hasn't exactly been elevated over the last several weeks or months, other than getting a main event spot with Bad Bunny that he lost, by the way. So I don't know. That to me, they aren't so far. I wouldn't give them a great report card on how to build value for a championship on the Monday Night Raw side of things.
Yeah, no, I was not a fan of that. Like, I don't like the whole fighting champion thing. Like, to be honest, one thing that I found cool about, and I think they kind of started this when The Rock held the WWE Championship in 2013 when he defeated CM Punk and ended his 18th-month reign, is that The Rock, if I'm not mistaken, was on most weekly shows. He was even showing up on SmackDown because obviously there was no brand split at that point in time. But I also found it kind of cool that you never got to see the champion in action on a weekly episodic show. And I thought that's pretty cool because, let's be honest here, aside from just saying you're the champion, what's the benefit of being the champion if you have to wrestle every week? And I know that may sound kind of weird to say because, before 2013, like every world champion was wrestling weekly, like whether it be CM Punk or John Cena or Edge or Orton, Triple H 20 years ago, what have you. But I do find that The Rock and then Brock Lesnar and now Roman Reigns kind of made those world titles feel more legitimate. That, yeah, I think you should show up. I don't think that you should have the Brock or Roman schedule that you could go, a month or two without showing up at all. I found that was ridiculous. But like, at least not a singles match. You know what I mean? Or if it is a singles match, it's like once in a blue moon. Like, it's either a tag match or just there as like for a segment, something like that. And I really find not only having a singles match, but an open challenge to defend your world title, I'm with you. It defeats the purpose of being a champion, right? And I think you've used this analogy. It's like, if the Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs in week 1 of this season was just like, yep, so whoever beats us this week are the new Super Bowl champions. It just doesn't make sense. It defeats the whole purpose of going through like a bunch of obstacles to eventually become the world champion. Like Seth had to go through a triple threat match and then 2 singles matches to become this world champion. Now he's just giving it away potentially in a singles match. So I do think there's a happy medium, but I don't think it has to be as extreme as Seth having an open challenge on Monday Night Raw and Roman Reigns defending it once every 4 months.
It's like they're treating, and I said this last night on my show, that it's almost like already they're treating it like the 24/7 championship. Like anyone gets a shot anytime. And that is the absolute worst possible way to build value in a championship. In fact, that is if you are trying to destroy the value of a belt, that is the strategy to do it. Where even though Seth Rollins he's already a Hall of Famer. Is he a legend? That's to be debated, but he's already a Hall of Famer. He's had already an amazing career, and he adds value to the belt. Guys make the belt. The belt shouldn't make the guy. But at the same time, if you're going to treat the belt like this disposable commodity that anyone deserves an opportunity at, then how is I'm a viewer at home sitting there going, well, if anyone can get an opportunity, what's so special about this? What? So you can tell everyone you're a fighting champion? Well, then you look like an idiot for defending it and allowing guys that have no business being in the World Heavyweight Championship picture to get an opportunity at the championship. It's all in the name of fighting champion and being the anti-Roman. They've gone so far the other way that they think it's going to balance out the constant complaints of Roman never being there, never defending his championship, all that, which are valid. But you don't want to go the other extreme on Raw, where Seth is defending his belt every single week against just anyone that happens to, call him out on Twitter, or however the hell this whole program started with Damian Priest getting an opportunity. It's not a good look. I understand they want to, boost ratings. I get it. I know that championship matches do affect ratings to some degree, but not only does it devalue the championship belt itself by giving anyone an opportunity, apparently, and doing it frequently, but doing it on free TV. I know that it's happened for a long time now, and I don't mind it happening every once in a while, but it seems like almost every single show there's some kind of championship match, and I don't like that, because it's like, well, then what's the point of the PLEs? Why even do them if you're giving away championship matches on free TV? There's just many layers of things that I understand aren't going to change. It's just how things are run now in wrestling and WWE specifically. I get it, but those are just some of my gripes.
Yeah, and I think that a way to make the U.S. title and the Intercontinental title feel more important as having them not weekly defended on the Raw or SmackDown. Not to say that it has to be every week, but those should be the individual championships on the men's side of things that are defended on Raw or SmackDown, depending what brand has either title. And I think John Cena doing that with the U.S. title following WrestleMania 31 when he defeated Rusev for it really boosted the value of the U.S. Championship, a title that oftentimes in the PG era and all the way until the late 2010s, and even at times nowadays, has felt like a forgotten belt. I just have never seen the benefit of defending a world title on Raw or SmackDown. Look, are there exceptions to that rule? Yes, of course, like with every rule. Like when Mick Foley won the WWF Championship on Monday Night Raw, won the more historic title victories of all time. So I'm not saying that it's like always has to be this way, but an open challenge, that I don't get. I do not understand that. At least Mick Foley and The Rock had a long-standing rivalry, and they traded the WWF Championship how many times in early 1999 and late 1998? 28. Like, there was a big solidified story behind it. But I just think that if you want to do an open challenge of any sort, it's best served for the mid-card title, because I think that's kind of like what the mid-card title is supposed to be. I think Stone Cold Steve Austin has always framed the Intercontinental as like the working man's title, the guy that's there every week trying to prove himself as an everyday champion, and before elevating himself into the world title picture. So I don't mind that for the US or the Intercontinental title, but I really don't like it for any world championship.
No, it doesn't belong. The open challenge, I don't care if it was like kind of, that was kind of the build around a specific Monday Night Raw. Oh my God, so-and-so is offering an open challenge for the World Heavyweight Championship. But the thing is, they would overuse that. I mean, I don't care if it's a one-off. Oh my God, that would be a big deal. How many people out there are thinking, oh my God, Seth is defending his belt on Raw? That's insane. Nobody's thinking that. Everyone's going, oh well, okay, we already know who's winning. Obviously, there's a 0% chance Damian Priest is winning, but you are completely devaluing this championship by doing that. I've already explained it, but right now I think there's an argument to be made that the Intercontinental Championship, which on paper is supposed to be a championship that's a peg or two below the top world championship, feels more important and more valuable over the shoulder of a heel of Gunther than it does with the World Heavyweight Championship around the waist of Seth, based on how they've presented the championships, not taking advantage of the lineage of the World Heavyweight Championship, pretending it's brand new. At the same side, you have a heel who is always talking about respect, always trying to find credible opponents, and then never cheating to win, and yet somehow he's still a heel. We talked about this, but in a way, Gunther has done more for the Intercontinental Championship, and that belt feels more valuable at the present moment than the belt that Seth has carried, and yet Seth has more mileage and more of a story in WWE than Gunther does. But I don't know, just a thought.
Okay, yeah, I would agree with that. Like, I mean, and do you think that there's any risk? Probably not, just because of how big of a star that Seth is. Do you think that there's any inherent risk of making the world title feel less important than the Intercontinental?
Well, I think, I mean, right now there's a risk, but they could easily resolve that because it's the World Heavyweight Championship. It's around the waist of Seth Rollins. We all know Seth Rollins is. I wouldn't know. I don't know if he's a household name, but he's on the track to be that. And again, they could easily remind us of what this belt means. Have sit down interviews, talk about what this means to Seth. How long he's fought for this. He hasn't held a major championship in 3.5 years, 4 years, whatever it is. Talk about that stuff instead of just doing these random challenges with guys that have no business being in the championship picture with no build, no reason, all in the name of just being a fighting champion, which is totally foolish. Right now, I don't think it's not that big of a concern. I'm just saying at the present moment, if they're telling me that this belt is brand new, then yeah, the Intercontinental Championship means more to me right now because of how Gunther has treated that championship. But it's long term. No, I'm not worried about that long term.
Yeah, no, I guess, and I think that it was such a good idea to put it on as Seth Rollins, because I do think that, let's say you wanted to go a bit in left field to name the first world champion and try and have like Seth Rollins start as like the chaser right out of the gate, and let's say you had put it on like Finn Balor or someone like that, then I think that you could have run the risk if like Finn Balor was the world heavyweight champion, but I guess then he wouldn't be doing an open challenge as a heel, right? It would have had to be a baby face. Like, I mean, Cody Rhodes would have been a safe choice. Seth Rollins was a safe choice. Like, I guess like a baby face doing an open challenge. Like, what's the type of baby face if he was the world title champion right now doing that? Would have there been a risk of devaluing the world heavyweight title right out of the gate? Like a mid-card type of guy?
Yeah, I think they went with the choice that they had to make. I mean, we all knew it was either going to be Seth or Cody, and it ended up being Seth, which is totally fine. And you and I have been talking about this and others that Seth needs a world championship. How has he not held a top belt in 4 years? And here we are, and I have no complaints at all. It's still 100% the right move. But if they went with a mid card guy, I mean, even if it had to have been a babyface, it could not have been another heel on the other show holding a major championship. They had to be a babyface. It had to be a top babyface. But say they went with a mid-card babyface. I mean, could they have gotten away with it? I mean, maybe. they might have been able to get away with it. I mean, I'm not saying Kevin Owens or Sami Zayn are mid-card guys. I would say they're in the top tier, but kind of the bottom of the top tier when it
like
comes.
Like a tweener?
Yeah, like they're in between mid-upper card and the top of the card because they can transfer between any of those, either of those and do just fine. But if they were to put them on one of them, I would still argue that WWE views them just a little bit less in terms of pecking order, in terms of star power than Seth Rollins and name value with Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. So if they were put them on one of those guys, I think they would have done fine. But there you do run the risk. If you don't bring out your big guns, if you don't bring out your ace in the hole to make this World Heavyweight Championship mean as much as possible by putting it on the guy that is the biggest babyface on the brand, then you are running the risk of, at least off the bat, making this belt not feel as important. But, I think Seth will do just fine. Cody Rhodes would have done just fine. And Cody obviously is on a different path to eventually, I would imagine, face Roman once he gets past this Brock Lesnar problem, which doesn't look like it's going to happen until after SummerSlam, according to, I think, Wrestling Observer. But I want to get back to, in the last 10, 15 minutes here, closing out our conversation about moving forward here. We've talked at length about the World Heavyweight Championship. We talked at length about the 1,000 days leading up to this and the ups and the downs and that kind of thing. And maybe they should have pulled the trigger or shouldn't they have. As we move forward, now we're past 1,000 days. He's probably easily going to pass Pedro Morales and become number 4 on the all-time list of holding a championship. Now, do you think that moving forward, there is any chance in the world that they make him, now that they have gotten 40% of the way to the top championship, the number one, which is Bruno Sammartino. I think he's at 2,600 days or something like that. Do you think they dare go all the way? Because they are looking at this and saying, hey, we are never, ever going to have an opportunity like this again. We have never come this far. We haven't come this far in 35 years. Why not just finish the story? We have a champion on Raw. We have Roman, who has been super successful. Why not go 55% of the way more and finish this and make Roman Reigns the number one champion of all time, carrying the top, the number of days carrying a top championship? Do you think there's any possibility, or do you think they say, okay, mission accomplished, we did it, he's number 4 on the list, and they call it a day and drop it to Drew or whoever?
So that would be more or less another 3 years, right? Because
we'd be almost halfway, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm going to say no just because of one thing. They've kind of been on a kick during the Triple H era of breaking records. Like the Usos broke the New Day's record for longest reigning tag team champions, which, I mean, that was fairly recent, and I agreed with. Now Gunther, I think, is rapidly approaching Honky Tonk Man's record of the Intercontinental Championship, which, I mean, I think I would agree with as well. Like, it's kind of weird to say that the Honky Tonk Man is the guy who holds the record for the longest Intercontinental Championship reign. Like, you would think it would have been like Roddy Piper or Rick Rude or what have you. But hey, that was the Honky Tonk Man's gimmick. I just don't know if every record or all major records have to be broken with, like, in the here and now. And if you go back historically, what are the 3 titles that have stood the test of time? The WWE title / world title, the Intercontinental title, and the tag team title. And those are like the 3 titles that they really have put their stamp on recently. They've done 2 of the 3. I just don't know if you could do all 3, because you also have to pay some kind of respect to past generations. Look, the U.S. title obviously started in WCW, and I can't for the life of me remember who holds the record for the longest U.S. title reign. Then obviously the women's championship. I mean, I would imagine it's the Fabulous Moolah would be in there, but I don't know. Like, when I think of the wrestling's most prestigious, easy enough for me to say, titles over the last 30 to 40 years, it is the Intercontinental, the WWE title, and the tag team title. And only because the women's title was so neglected for so many years, that's the only reason why I don't lump that in. It's almost by default at times. They only started taking that title seriously, 10 years ago, if that. So you've already broken the record or are soon going to be breaking the record of 2 of the 3. I just don't know if you could go all 3 with modern day champions, if that makes sense.
I think that's a good point to bring up, that as successful as Roman has been, as successful as this storyline has been, is it worth telling the audience that everything that has happened in the past with Bruno Sammartino, Hulk Hogan, that is all, and Bob Backlund, who are the only ones in front of him at this point. Pedro Morales is going to be gone. I mean, it's Pedro, and I don't know, and I think it's Hulk, and Bruno Sammartino is number 1, and regardless, those are the men that are in front of him, are Bob Backlund, Hulk Hogan, and Bruno Sammartino. Is it really worth erasing, in effect, all of those men's title reign runs for the sake of Roman Reigns being number 1? Bumping everyone down a peg at sacrificing at the altar of Roman Reigns. Like, how deep does this commitment go? If we are not even halfway through Roman Reigns' run, I mean, just imagine that. I mean, like, we wouldn't be talking about him losing the championship until late 2026. I mean, that's just insane. But we didn't think we'd be here 3 years ago in this position. And coming up on nearly exactly 3 years with SummerSlam 2020, where Roman won the Universal Championship and aligned himself with Paul Heyman in that infamous matchup, Triple Threat. But now that said, I'm with you. They probably won't do it because that's too much, I think, to sacrifice, and there is some respect there to be had for the stars of the past, that they are the foundation of the WWE in some ways. And I don't know if it would be disrespectful, if they'd look at it as disrespectful, or not even looking at it that way, just going, hey, I don't know how we could even keep this up for 3 more years. I mean, like, there's only so many stories you could tell. This is a different era than it was when Bruno Sammartino had 2,800 days or whatever it is as champion. It's a different time. There's weekly television. There's monthly pay-per-views. That didn't exist when Bruno Sammartino was running roughshod over the WWF. Like, it's a different world. So they see the champion more. The creative is much different. I'm with you. They probably don't do it. So that said, I guess the next logical question is, I keep saying it, what do you think they do? What do you think they do now that Jimmy and Jay have essentially defected? We don't know what Jay's doing, but let's be honest, Jay's going to align with his brother. Wouldn't make sense if he didn't. And it's going to be Jay and Jimmy versus Solo and Roman at some point. But what do they do? I mean, does Roman lose the belt this year? Does he drop it to Jimmy or Jay or hell, Solo if he finally turns on Roman, or Dwayne if he comes out of Hollywood, or Seth if they have a cross-promotional match at Mania, or like any other candidates? Like, I keep asking this, but now we're ticking off days here. We're ticking off milestones. Now we have a world champion on Raw. Like, what happens?
Well, he's going to pass Pedro Morales in a few weeks, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he's really close, yeah.
Okay. I don't know how close he is to number 3, but I could see them getting him into the top 3 because that's a pretty significant feat, right? A top 3 title reign of all time. I'm not sure when that is. I feel like someone said it would be in September of 2024. I'm not sure if they could string that out that long, because the other question here is Roman Reigns has been a full-time competitor now for how many years? Is it going to be 11 in November? Not counting NXT, just on the main roster. I think it's 11 years in November that he's been a full-time guy on the main roster. How many more years does he have?
Yeah.
And I would bet money that they are going to have one more babyface run for Roman Reigns. And I think we should see that. The run that he should have had in the late 2010s. If he had started out as a heel, let's say in 14, 15, 16, then in 17, 18, 19, he probably could have had a really good run as a babyface. But Vince didn't want to, and we all know that whole story. So thinking that, let's just say he has a 15-year career, which is a lot for a professional wrestler. let's say he has another 4.5 years left in him, or 4. I think you're going to want at least 2 years out of Roman Reigns as a top tier babyface. So I think that somewhere between now and next fall, and I'm not sure if I'm correct with that, but I'm pretty sure it's September 2024 is when he would get into the top 3. So I would say somewhere between now and September 2024, he's going to lose that belt. And then you're probably going to get a year and a half, 2 years of a major babyface run for Roman Reigns, which I think will be amazing. I think it will be everything Vince McMahon hoped it would be 5, 6, 7 years ago. And I think we're all going to be better for it to have seen at least one more time. Who that person is, I'm not sure. It makes the most sense for it to be Seth. It feels like they're taking the extreme long road to get to that, so it would make a ton of sense. I've also heard that they want to do the Dusty Rhodes story with Cody of the year of hardships, only to be culminated at a WrestleMania. So do we see Cody versus Roman 2 next year and Cody wins it? I wouldn't be shocked to see that. I wouldn't like it, but I wouldn't be shocked to see it. Aside from those two guys, like Gunther, maybe, but he's a heel. Roman's a heel. It would take some time to turn Gunther as a formidable babyface. I think the when is somewhere between now and September of 2024, but the who for me is very interesting.
The who, I bet you they don't even know. I really believe that they're thinking they've got the same list of prospects right now that we do. And I mean, because you can't really project that somebody from NXT is going to come up and catch fire. That kind of stuff is really unpredictable. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Somebody that you don't think will catch fire does, and vice versa. So I think it's got to be one of those guys that they have in their minds, because no one's coming out of the woodwork. Now, you do have a potential of MJF coming to WWE in January of next year. Does that change things up if Roman Reigns is babyface? I think it absolutely does. I am a big proponent of MJF coming from AEW to WWE. I think he kind of sees the writing on the wall. The company's not doing great with ratings at the moment. They're not dealing with a cash problem or anything. They're not going under. But I think he recognizes that his bigger paydays and bigger platform is WWE. It just is. That's a fact. So I hope that MJF does come to WWE. If he does, then there, I think, is a real opportunity for MJF to feud with Roman if he's on SmackDown or Raw, whatever at the time. Now, outside of that, if MJF doesn't, then you're right. Those are the only guys. That's it. There's no other opportunities or no other guys out there. Now, when I'm looking at the list, I do have to make a correction to myself. Pedro Morales is the next guy up, but he is the number 5 guy. So Roman is still number 6. Pedro Morales is number 5 at 1,027 days. Roman is at like 1,009 days or something like that. He'll have no problem. Roman Reigns will slot himself right into that number 5 spot. I guess I had already assumed he was there. But after that, it's Bruno with one of his runs at 1,237 days. So that leaves Roman, about 200 days from now to claim the number 4 spot. To get to the number 3 spot, which I think is doable, is Hulk Hogan. And number 3 at Hulk Hogan is 1,474. So doing the math on that, there is wherein lies your September 2024 projection, somewhere around that time. I do believe that is a real potential threat, is Hulk Hogan's run at 1,474. After that, you're getting into rarefied air of 2,135 for Bob Backlund and 2,803 days for Bruno Sammartino at number 1, which again puts you late into 2026. Unlikely there, unlikely for Bob Backlund. I think the real only one that's left that's threatened outside of Pedro, which is gone, Bruno at 1,237, and then Hulk Hogan at number 3 at 1,474. There is probably the last mile marker that's threatened. I would agree.
1,474. So he would need another 465 days.
Roughly, yeah.
So that would put him like late summer next year.
Yep.
So yeah, exactly. Like September 20. So like, I don't know if this would fall in line. Like we would actually have to count it, but depending where they schedule SummerSlam in 2024, that might be the date. Like, it seems like SummerSlam's getting earlier and earlier every year.
I know.
Like, isn't it like the first week of August this year?
Yeah, I feel like it's next year. SummerSlam is going to be like in April. Yeah, it is. It's August 5th, I think it is.
Oh my God. Okay, so it's really, really early. So I mean, look, that would be depending when they schedule SummerSlam next year, and pardon me, and if it lines up, because 100 days, that would be, it might not make it. It really might not make it, because even if you do the last weekend of August, is that going to get him to, I think you would need it to go into late September, maybe, I would imagine.
Yeah.
So maybe Survivor Series 2024?
I think that's fair. Yeah, I mean, and again, this all really depends on if they don't have anyone, if there's no one there that is going to be able to really utilize the victory over Roman Reigns, then I wouldn't pull the trigger. I mean, I would keep him champion until it makes sense to not anymore. You know, I'm not a fan of just having Roman knock down these milestones just to knock them down. But at the same time, this has gone so long that unless somebody's ready to be able to utilize this victory, I wouldn't do it. I mean, why are we going to mess with something just to end it when the benefit of that person winning is a real quick bang, and then they lose the belt in 3 months to somebody else? You know, they really hopefully have someone at least in mind, a small pool of candidates that are able to do this. And so I don't know. Yeah, this is a conundrum, and this is something that I can't believe 2.5 years, nearly 3 years later, we're still talking about. But yeah. So anything else that you want to bring up here in terms of Roman Reigns' 1,000 days or anything related to that?
No, all I would say is that it would be nice if he could start defending the world title again, because it's fun seeing the bloodlines dissension from the inside. But I mean, I also want to see the belt defended. And I don't think that just because now you have the world heavyweight title, it should be a reason to not defend the WWE championship. That's all I'm going to say.
Do you have an idea of who he's going to defend it against next?
I mean, I would imagine it's going to be like, I could see them do something like a triple threat match with the Usos. I could see them doing something like that to really test the strength of the two brothers. Like, I don't know if he's going to defend. I hope he defends that Money in the Bank, for God's sakes. Like, I mean, we're coming up on it's already been 2 months since he last defended it. So I would imagine it would be at Money in the Bank in like a triple threat match against the Usos. That's my guess, because I don't think you have enough time now to build up another competitor for him. Like, isn't that July 1st? Yeah, it's Canada Day.
Yeah.
So it's July 1st. So, I mean, I don't think you have enough time to build up another competitor. It's 3 weeks away? So 3.5 weeks away. So yeah, my guess would be a triple threat match, but with the Usos.
Probably, if not, it's Solo and Roman versus the Usos. And if that's the case, Roman's had another tag match, and he ain't defending the belt at that event. But they're in London. This is not just your regular normal Money in the Bank. They're in London. It's a massive venue. You would imagine that they have to have Roman defended here. It would be shocking if they don't. I don't think the fans would be too happy if they didn't get a Roman Reigns title defense. If they don't, then that means he's going to SummerSlam, which, as we discussed before, that'd be insane. Like 4 months before he defended the belt after WrestleMania, which is just ridiculous. But one step at a time. I think that's a solid assessment. I don't know who else. Like you said, there's no one else. They clearly had a major angle on SmackDown, Solo spiking Jimmy. They got to go with a triple threat, or it could be just 1-on-1. It could just be Roman versus Jimmy for the championship, and maybe we have both Jay and Solo banned from ringside or something like that.
Yeah, no, it's something like that. I mean, I would imagine Jay versus Roman, because it feels like this is going to be the story of the summer, which is weird to say but you look at the SmackDown roster, like, I thought it was going to be Sheamus and then AJ Styles, but I'm thinking maybe they're going to take up the entire summer just by the inner fighting of the bloodline.
Oh, hell yeah. I mean, if I was WWE, I would too. Like this is a storyline. Again, I would recognize that we have something right here that we need to milk for every dollar it's worth. We're a company. We need to make money, and I would too. This is not going to be a quick, oh, bam, oh, it's over. Jimmy lost. Let's move on. No, because then there's Jay, that loose end you have to tie up. When does Solo defect from Roman? And then what does Roman do when he's finally alone? Does he find somebody else to join the bloodline? What does Paul Heyman do? Does somebody outside of the bloodline join Roman to fight off, Solo and Jay and Jimmy? Again, there's so many loose ends. This is far from over, even though, quote unquote, the bloodline has crumbled. There are so many loose ends and fun roller coaster rides we have yet to go on. So, this is far from over. So, all right. Any final thoughts or plugs for your upcoming show or your previous one?
Well, the last one I did was covering the 2004 event of SummerSlam. I found that a pretty cool pay-per-view to go back and look on, because you look at how, Randy Orton wins a world title for the first time. John Cena starts a best-of-5 match against Booker T for the U.S. Championship, and Batista's first prominent match as a singles competitor in a triple threat match for the Intercontinental Championship against Chris Jericho and Edge. And it's just crazy to see how that's how all of their careers really started to skyrocket. Obviously, Orton was right at the head of the line. John Cena was quickly behind him, and Batista, right up until WrestleMania 21, had one of the biggest and most rapid rises of all time, if we're being honest, how rapidly he increased. So it's pretty cool to go back and watch that. And this week, not 100% certain yet, but I'm thinking of covering The Rock's run as WCW champion in mid to late 2001, a run that I don't think we often talk about enough. And when he had the big gold belt that would eventually become the world heavyweight title.
Yes. No, you're right. And that, I was imagining earlier when we were talking about the World Heavyweight Championship, The Rock having his that big gold belt. I think he won it from Booker T. Was it Booker? Yeah.
And spoiler alert, you have a chance. Okay, this is the spoiler. At SummerSlam 2001, a great match. And The Rock always had like the Attitude Era belt. That's what I always remember him with, like the big, kind of like the enlarged version of the Intercontinental in a lot of ways, I always used to call it. But he did have a pretty good run with the WCW Championship.
Yeah, he did. And that you're right. Not many people talk about that. That is a kind of a weird forgotten run for The Rock. It's I hate to say that. Not many title runs with a star that big are forgotten, but that's one that is it's something that isn't brought to the forefront. So I'm looking forward to that if that's the topic you decide. So this has been a lot of fun. Again, guys, this 1 hour special was brought to you by Roman Reigns' 1,000 day title run. And who the hell knows, maybe we'll be doing a 1,500 day title run if he gets to that point or whatever it may be. But thanks so much for coming on, man. Looking forward to your show on Friday, and we'll be talking in a week.
Yeah, man. Looking forward to it. Take care.
You too.
Thanks for listening to the WWE Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss a show, or head to WWEpodcast.com. And for all of these shows ad-free, head over to patreon.com/WWE Podcast. Until then, we'll see you next time.